We're Easy Drum,
and you're watching
Around the Piano
with Tim Paul
at 216 Creator Studios.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Welcome back, everybody. A cappuccino behind the scenes here. Hey, listen, if you like what you see on Around the Piano with host Tim Paul, the man with the plan, go to the old Google box there, YouTube 216 Creator Studios. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, ding that bell for future notifications. That way you never miss an episode of your favorite host, Tim Paul. I'm going to say Tim Paul at least 30 times today.
30 times today is good.
That's good. Yeah, it's good because you have a lot. You have a lot of fun. And you know what? Speaking of fun, let's hit our sponsor real quick with fun.
Let's do it. Welcome to Piano Trends Music and Band Company, Crystal Lake, Illinois. I'm Tim Paul, and I'm one of the owners here at Piano Trends. And I want to tell you 3 things about Piano Trends Music. Here's what you're going to find: fun, more fun, and even more fun. That's right. You're going to have fun learning to play an instrument. We've got a lot of fun instruments to choose from for you to purchase, buy, or rent. And we have fun repairing your own instrument to get it up to snuff just for you. And your timing might be just perfect when you come visit us for fun. We might just have a live jam session going on with lifting spirits through music. And you're welcome to join us or just watch. Plus, you never know who's going to show up at Piano Trends Music. You know, like this guy. PianoTrends.com. We'll see you soon.
I'll tell you, what a fun commercial that is, Tim. You did well with that, buddy. And listen, folks, if you haven't watched Lifting Spirits Through Music, definitely check them out. It is daily. It is a daily show with Tim Paul and the Keep On Keeping On band. Tim, where do they find that?
You'll find that on Facebook, YouTube is the most place, but you can find it on SoundCloud now. So it's pretty much wherever. And we do have fun every day. In fact, you joined us kind of in
ish.
I
played the triangle real well.
You did. Well, yesterday though, you told us a good dad joke that we did share with everybody.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I did. Well, I didn't. I came on late on the show when I was in chat, and I was like, you know what, I missed the dad joke, so I'm just going to throw one out.
And you did.
And it was a musical joke.
It definitely was.
It was a horrible joke, actually. Well, but that's fine.
You know, I remember that joke. You asked why does a singer want to climb a ladder?
That's right.
Well, yeah, and of course it was so they could hit the
high notes. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Bad.
Yeah.
Well, enough of that. Let's bring on some excitement, man. So we have Bob in the house, Bob Phibbs. Great man. And you know what? I'm going to let you introduce him because I know you were excited about today.
Well, I'll tell you, I was excited and I am excited about today because Bob, I consider a good friend. And the commercial that we ran to open the show actually has some roots with a connection with Bob Phibbs, who's coming on because years ago at a NAMM show, Bob was conducting a summit seminar. And he used me as an example of how to create a live stream promotion for your business. And there were things that he said. He says, you never want to mention more than 3 things because when you get to the 4th, nobody's going to remember it. So you mentioned 3 things. So I mentioned 3 things in that commercial: fun, more fun, and even more fun. Yeah. So that was inspired by Mr. Bob Phibbs, who is known as the retail doctor. And he's a dynamic speaker. He's an author, and he's a great retail strategist. I have taken many of his ideas through his newsletters that he puts out to people and put them into practice, and they work. Anything from store displays in your retail business. We use it specifically, obviously, in the music retail business, but he sends a message, and he's very good at getting that message out, and he helps people better their business. So let's bring Bob on with
Let's bring him
no
out.
further ado.
Yep.
Hey, Bob, welcome.
Welcome to the show, Bob.
Why is a piano so hard to open, my friends?
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Because the keys are inside.
Yes. Oh, you can't fool the Paul. You
Probably
can't.
heard that one before.
Which is
Why did the cow take singing lessons?
I don't know why. How?
Because she wanted to be a musician.
Oh, okay.
I
Well-
had to at least get one.
My joke just climbed the ladder. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I get it. Climb.
Thanks,
Low
Bob.
bar, my friend. It was a low bar.
Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you. It's great to be here, gents.
So we're actually in a little while, Bob, we're actually going to play the video that you created where you were behind the camera at that trade show. So we're going to play that just to show an example of what you do at these trade shows.
You gotta have fun. If you're gonna do it, man, there's no point. So
Zach, there it is.
Oh,
here
there it is.
we are.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's run it now, and then we'll come back.
Action.
Coming from the NAMM show in beautiful Anaheim, California. Say hello, everybody. That's our NAMMily, as we call them. We get together here once a year in January of every year for the NAMM show. And what we're going to do today is we're actually demonstrating how we're doing live video. And Bob Phibbs is behind the camera there today, and he's conducting a retail summit. There he is. He's waving it. And there's his sign there, Retail Summit Video.
Roger's watching and he says hi.
Hi back. Good to hear from you, Raj. And anyway, what we're going to do today, there's 3 reasons why my child should be in music. So I'm smiling. So 3 reasons your child should be in music. First of all, I want to tell you that the best thing about it is my parents gave me the opportunity to be in music from the word get-go. And the fact that my mother was a teacher and a concert artist and my father's a piano tuner probably had nothing to do with that, but it helped. But it's important. And the 3 reasons are, number 1, it's fun. If you can't have fun in music, what can you have fun in? But number 2, it's everybody is aware of all the studies now that will show you that physical skills and social skills and academic skills are vastly improved when you're involved in music and you're playing music. So that's something that you want to do. Number 3, we're going to revert back to number 2. It's going to emphasize number 2 and go back to number 1. And with the help of our NAMM family, over 750 music people here today. One of the most famous, and I think the best slogan that came out of NAMM years ago, and I'm giving credit to NAMM. If it's not, they'll have to correct me later, was what, hold on a second. If all of you could help me with the slogan. Everybody's familiar with the slogan, making music makes you smarter, right? Okay. So I'm going to count down from 3. When we get down there, I want everybody to yell it out. So everybody in Chicago will feel warmer because we're pushing 0 degrees back home. All right. So everybody ready? 3, 2, 1.
Making music makes you smarter.
Hey, you guys feel a lot warmer back home now? Anyway.
Wendy says yes.
Wendy says yes. Yay. That's great. So take the word of over 700 music peeps. You're going to enjoy music. And if you have questions about lessons, go ahead and put them in that comment field and hit that like button for us, because that's what we like to see. Thanks, everybody. So long from Anaheim. It's Tim at Piano Trends again.
What a great video. First of all, I love the beard. I don't know
You
why
like the
that
beard?
went
Yeah.
away. I feel like I might have bought a pocket watch off of you in an alley somewhere.
That was you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
must have been me. Yeah, with that look. That's awesome. We got to bring back the bearded wonder.
Well, you know, there's a history behind it, and I'll tell you the story later, but there's a little history behind the beard that year.
Sounds good. Great video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it was, you know what, Bob, what was fascinating about that was, well, number one takeaway from it, you notice the jacket I was wearing. I was promoting Gibson and Baldwin. I laid that jacket down in between the sessions and it disappeared. And I haven't seen that jacket since. And my favorite jacket. But anyway, I'm not bitter. Somebody at NAMM has
One of your Namely.
That's right, Namely.
There's always the one cousin.
There's always the one. You're right.
I looked at that and I was like, was I even there? Honestly, I was like, I kind of remember doing that, but it was like, wow. I mean, that took a lot because we did not work together before we did that. And you had to do that live. And it was, I'm convinced we were calling the 7 Apocalypse because I was taking a video and I'm putting it up to your Facebook account while they're watching it live, while it's streaming to the world. And I'm aware that I'm filming and listening to you to give, the whole thing was just remarkable, but it certainly paved the way for what we needed to a few months later. So
it certainly did. I tell you, it was fascinating. And that the background is like you're referring to 3 months, I think, before the NAMM show, you were in contact with 7 or 8 of us, prepping us for this and getting ready for it. And by the time we got there, I think there were 3 or 4 of us that actually got to the summit. And you know what is interesting is that we're still in contact with those people. We've become friends.
Oh, that's fun.
From working on that. Yeah. So it was fascinating, but we learned a lot from that. That was one of the most interesting seminars, day-long seminars. I took so much home from that trade show that I was used in the business that helped the business grow that over the following years. So
that's great. That was a full day of the doc. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Even for me, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in, but I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, it was good. So you're the retail doctor. Obviously, we're in the music retail business, but retail overall, how do you see a difference between general retail and a specific, like the music business retail versus, maybe even a drugstore retail? They're obviously different, but you give advice to all retailers.
I do. I think the challenge is how to be nice about this because your Namely's watching this. I think the challenge with most music stores is they still look like they were carved out of the 70s, black ceiling and, dirty and not really well organized. And the challenge with that is I think you don't realize who your competition is, which is the Apple Store,
right?
Starbucks, Lululemon. If you understand that, then you understand that, okay, how do we make a compelling environment for people to explore? Because you're asking to be creative. And I remember reading, stories about people going into Guitar Center and be like, don't play the guitars unless, you're with somebody. And other people have signs, don't play the pianos if unless you're accompanied and there were hard sell techniques behind all of it. And I just say, you just have to realize you are the ones helping people get voice lessons. I was a little kid when I was growing up in Toledo, Ohio, and my dad was in social justice and working for civil rights, and I was picked on a hell of a lot, and it was a horrible time in my life. Mm-hmm. But the one place I found confidence was in a choir. That's the first time that I felt like I belong, my voice is important, and there's a beginning, middle, and end. There's a performance, right? And then I got a piano, and piano didn't go as well. I was like two years, and then I wanted to quit. My mom let me, which she shouldn't have, because that's about the time I probably could have done something a little bit more. And that came to bite me when I went to college, and I wanted to be a Broadway conductor. And I wrote to 20 conductors on Broadway, and I think 10 of them wrote back, which was very generous. And almost everyone did this. You better have great piano chops. Like, well, that's out. But that whole idea of confidence is what we are doing. I mean, that's what I do. I think if you understand at its most basic point, that if you're an educator, if you're a teacher, if you are a retailer, if you're a musician, you're giving people confidence to feel empowered by your music. If you understand that, that's a pretty sacred place to be in somebody's life, right? If you're a parent, that's the same thing you've got to develop in your kid. And if you don't, I mean, it was always a hard time for me with Mother's Day and Father's Day cards. Like, you've always been there for me. Like, yeah, I can't send any of these. It's like, love you. But you had to find it on your own. And it's a tough world out there if you got to find it on your own, right? You're going to get some scrapes. You're going to feel some things you don't fit in, and a number of, but in the end, if you find that through music or you find that through art and you say, I feel more confident as a human being, then I think we've done our job. And so that's why, particularly with you and I did our live streams every day. I did mine when COVID, the lockdown hit. I think it was March the 13th or something. And I went for 6 full months before I just said, I can't do every day of this. But it was, for me, I would pick up something that because again, I couldn't go out, and I'm in upstate New York. There wasn't a lot of places to go, but I'd pick up something that I had purchased, and I'd tell the story about how I bought it, and that there's always 2 stories when I buy something. There's a story about what the product has and why it does what it does, and there's a story about remember the salesperson I worked with, the store, and those 2 stories are what makes retail greatness. If you don't have that first story, you're just hawking a product and saying, I hope you pick it up, right? So exactly. I think for all the circle all the way back to your original question, which was, is there a difference? I think the difference is that you have to understand your role for someone to first pick up that ukulele, like I would have done, and feel stupid, is to not think about the feature benefits. Just say, this person's trying out a voice right now.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
And if we own that, then we can say, yeah, well, maybe you're a flute, maybe you're something else. But that's not the world I never met a musician that said that to me, right? So I mean, I had the piano. My mom when she got pissed off, she'd play on her piano that she bought. Quick story: my mom saved up all her money. She got her master's at Toledo University, a school teacher, taught science. And I didn't realize the importance of that. She bought her own piano, a little upright, and I forget the Robler and Campbell, I think it was. And for Christmas, I got a bow and arrow set. And so one day I took the bow and I went down one side and the other, and it was fun. That was cool. Because remember that you'd go brum, bum, bum, brum, bum, bum, right? You do that with the arm.
Sure.
Why not with a bow? Well, I came home. She was crying and cleaning it off, and I scored all the keys from that.
Ooh.
And she was really, I didn't realize what it meant to her, but that was her voice. I guess that's why I want to just bring everybody back to, if you're a musician and you are working with people, just understand we're talking about a voice that someone's got. When I first started out, I'm a conductor. Maybe we'll get to that later, but one of the first things I did was I did workshops in Long Beach, California. And I said, so you think I can make anybody sing or something like that, or anyone can sing, something like that. And I'd get a little group of like 5 or 10 people, and they can match pitch. Everyone can match pitch. If just anywhere you can find on the piano and just go up 1, go down 1. You can get there. It's more of an ear than anything, I think.
Exactly.
And I would ask people, I'd say, so tell me, why do you say you can't sing? A teacher told me I shouldn't. I mean, it's, again, that sacred place that we get to play in, and to realize it's a voice you're talking about. Ariel from Little Mermaid, kind of the right idea, right? Give me a voice, and that's the most pretty thing. Well, as musicians, and you're great because you have piano, you can come up with all kinds of colors, right? That's the other thing that's cool. You've got all these different voices in a piano, which when I was learning piano, I never heard about how to make, one part stand out, or I think that was much too advanced. Or theory. Oh my God, when I got into college theory, I almost failed. But all of it comes down to the big idea that I think I've been centering on the last week or two is confidence, and to realize that those voice lessons that we give the world is permission for them to use your voice. So there you go.
It's very true. And I believe, and I know this is true, that it's every child or adult has a critical point where if they've got that encouragement, something very good in their lifestyle is going to happen. But the opposite too many times happens. And we've talked to many people who were discouraged, like you just mentioned, where you weren't allowed to take the piano lessons you wanted to. And we get so many people now that come in and say, I wish I'd been forced to take piano lessons. And I said, well, encouraged would have been a better word, but I always try to tell people it's never too late. It's never too late.
Well, and for our audience, I reached out to you a couple of months ago, and you sent me 2 books, and I have been playing them, and it is nice to just. I don't have to have a recital. I don't have a jury. You know, and I got my degree at Chapman College in Orange County, in Orange, California, and you had to have piano proficiency.
Uh-huh.
So you had to be able to play all the scales and a Bach invention and one other, I think. Yeah, by memory. And it was always, everybody dreaded it because I'm a conductor and you didn't want to put that like early. You wanted to push it off as far as you could. So I remember I'm in my junior year and I've done my own piece, which I chose a rag, not by Joplin, but somebody else, because I said, screw them, I'm going to play whatever I want. And I did the scales. And then I'm doing a Bach invention, and for the life of me, you know, they're not that long, but at the end, I couldn't remember what key I was in. And I'm just like, F, and it's in C. And he goes, I'll see you next year, Mr. Phibbs. Like, no, wait, let me go back.
Oh,
It's like, nope. So piano, it's a complicated history with me and piano. You understand. There's a lot to unpack here, my friend.
more and more a gist of that. But I do understand, because I drive my my friends crazy on when we do lifting spirits. I sometimes don't think about it. I forget I'm accompanying and playing other people, and I'll on the middle of a song and I'll change the key on them. And sometimes they're quick enough to follow along, and sometimes they're not. But the joke is that when I'm following people, they're actually trying to follow me. So it's but it just becomes a fun thing on lifting spirits. But yeah, when it happens in real life like that, it can be a challenge, to be sure.
I got a question for Bob.
Hit it.
So, the retail doctor, keynote speaker, right? You're doing greatness for people. You're helping people. I love that. I've interviewed Bob Burke. I've interviewed Tom Ziegler. I've interviewed Dan Sullivan. And what you're doing out there, I really am impressed by, just due to the fact of not too many people can balance the act by helping somebody in a retail business and then being a keynote speaker outside of that. It sounds like you're a multi-talented person, to where I have many talents, but I'm a master of none. And the retail side, growing your business. Yeah.
I'll sell my own book.
And an author.
I'm listening.
When you put that as an audio book, we'll help you with that. On top of that, so everybody I've ever interviewed like this, I've always asked, what's your why? Why had you started? What triggered you to say, you know what, I need to do this? And multiple things. Was there a certain reason or a trigger that brought you to who you are today?
Well, I always believe that we can change the world by the people working and shopping in stores. I've always believed that's my true north. That's my true north. As far as the origin story of the doc, I'll try to keep that short.
Okay.
But I used to sell cowboy clothes. I had a picture here. It's in my lobby. But so picture me in the 80s. I'm selling cowboy clothes, and I'm doing really well at it. I bought my first house at 22. Houses were a lot less than, sorry, folks at home, but still, it was pretty exciting. And
Interest.
What?
1.2% interest.
That's right. However, our credit cards were 28% interest. So hey, it all figured out. And gas was much cheaper, but they were rationing gas, by the way. Anyway,
I remember those days.
I'm at a meeting, and I've helped build this little startup from like 3 or 4 stores, and they had 55, and I was kind of a big guy in it. And the owner comes in, and we have a big, a bunch of us are in the room, and he says, "What's the company's greatest asset?" I'm like, "Well, that's easy. It's employees." And he goes, "Wrong." And I'm like, "Huh, that's interesting." And I went around the room, nobody could get it. And finally at the end, he goes, "It's customers." And you idiots, how could you not know? And I went down to his office and I said, we built this company on people.
Nice.
Not on customers. Customers are fickle. They'll go anywhere.
Yep.
And something's changed. I'm out in 2 weeks. I've been there 14 years.
Yeah.
Got the highest increase of sales, South Coast Plaza, #1 mall in the world. And at that point, I said, well, geez, I could do this for anybody. So I go to a Tony Robbins seminar. And Tony in those days only did one one day. You could no firework walks, but it was a good thing. And the one thing I took away from Tony was, you better come up with a brand nobody else can do better than you. And I did the retail doc, and I said, this kind of got a cool thing that fits into the changing the world. And I picked this little guy who was going up against 2 Starbucks. They're about to put a second one from his front door, 100 feet from his front door. And I remade his business, went up 50% the first year, 40% the next. And I called the New York Times and I said, are you interested in a story how the little guy beats the big guy? And they're like, we are. And they interviewed me in July. And October the 29th, 1997, I went down. I was speaking in Manhattan, and I got the Sunday morning, picked up the New York Times, flipped it, and there's a color picture of me and Mike. And then I opened up to the top of the business section. It said, meet the category killer. And that was my entry into it, which got the books, which got the keynotes, which got me doing makeovers to the LA Times and a lot of other things. But I always say to people, I'm lucky that people cared at that moment. I'm lucky that I could actually reach that business, the editor of the New York Times, on a phone call. What's yours? You got to hit it out of the park. It's the same thing I say to consultants, same thing I say to speakers, same thing I say to retailers. You have to hit it out of the park. That's the mark, not just be, oh, well, we're hanging in there. Like, nobody wants to hear that.
No, right. Wow.
Was that a good answer for your question?
Oh, that's a fantastic answer. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
That actually would tie into, if we asked you what's the best single piece of advice you could give any retailer, what would it be?
Oh, single piece of advice. See, you had to put a caveat to it.
Yeah. Somebody could take home and put into practice.
Best advice: have a conversation with the doc.
There you go. Right.
Pay me a lot. I would say
Calm.
the number one thing you have to do is know what the hell success looks like so that you can train others. If you don't know what good looks like and you can't demonstrate it, why the hell are you hiring people? Oh, he's really good on trombone. Yet trombone is not we don't have choirs of trombones, dude. Like, it's a solo instrument. Like, most instruments are solo instruments.
Right.
So if you understand that, then there's a different skill set that they probably don't have, which you're going to have to be willing to put yourself and say, this is how we do it. Because I think we let that go, and then we fill our stores with musicians who are, chummy with each other. And did you hear somebody's, by the way, there's a great, Bono's got a great show on Apple TV that just came out. I guess it's a film of his Broadway show, but amazing musician and really great stories. But that whole idea is, you have to think, I'm here to cultivate voices, and don't get me wrong, make the damn sale, right? I hate hearing that. Like, well, you're just getting going, just get the cheapest instrument. You can do that, but why not do the best? Why not say, well, yeah, I'm gonna be Ariel Grande comes up to the stage door, Kristen Chenoweth of Wicked. What was that? 20 years ago. She goes, someday I'm going to do that part of yours.
Right.
And doing the movie 20 years later. Why aren't we training musicians to do the best? So they buy their instruments used or on, all the different marketplaces. Why, when they come into a store, don't we start with that level? Because we do it in sports. When I work with sports retailers, hockey, or the parents are always buying the finest because they think, oh, if I get them the best Bauer skates, they're going to do better. Maybe not. But we don't seem to have that in music. Why is that, Tim?
It's an educational process. We find that we educate our customers more than than a sports store would have to do, because they come in armed with the knowledge. Well, they come into a music store now armed with the knowledge of how much things cost, but they don't understand the nuances between good, bad, and indifferent. And that's where the music retailer has to be prepared to do that. Once you have that customer in your building, that is your opportunity, not to sell them, but to educate them. The sale will come from educating them. And once they understand and they feel good about getting the better product, they're going to buy the better product.
I agree.
True.
Yeah.
I think too, especially with what you do, you sell yourself as a person your product follows.
Right. Exactly.
And that's an organic building relationships is an organic growth in sales. Also the fact of, my daughter plays the flute, right?
Right.
And I come to you and I say, hey, I need a flute. We get it to flute. It's tier 1 flute, right?
Right.
She becomes good at it. And now it's time to level that flute up. I go to Tim and I said, hey, I got to level up the flute. He's like, yep, that's going to be about $5,000. And I'm like, right. And he's like, I wish I could do better for you on that. And I'm reducing some of my cost for it and everything. I'm like, man, I appreciate that. And the answer comes.
Honey, you're playing the drums now. No, go ahead.
Right. Well, the answer comes when it's like, this is an investment. This is an investment into my child.
Right.
And so she's first chair to what she's doing. She's joining a township orchestra.
Cool.
Probably going to be in the pit for plays with our friend,
Josh. Yeah.
And, and then there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to level that up again. But just like if you were driving a race car or if you were investing into something that's what you want to do. So she already found what she wanted to do and where she wants to be. Now it's the investment of doing it. So it is an investment, and you educated me on that. So not only do you build the relationships, you educate your customers. Why would they go outside of you to do anything?
Exactly. Well, and which we did almost by example, because she played a flute that was considered a high quality flute.
Correct.
But it was not the same as the flute that we ended up landed on.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow. Nice story.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, man. I think so. The music world is a little bit different than a lot of retail. Most of my companies are service driven, right?
Right.
They're and I as a consultant for businesses as well. It's hard to say in the music world because it's a constant dynamics on changing all the time, very similar to a technology world. Where new instruments, new technology comes into play, which equals cost, not very cost effective for the younger people where the parents are like, yikes, right? But if you were in IT or if you were doing something else, that technology changes, in the blink of an eye. Where I used to know how to work certain technology, I have Nick here. He's my who that knows the how, because I couldn't keep up. Right. So,
but that also plays into what Bob was referencing earlier, that you didn't bring him on until you could teach him.
Correct. For what I could teach him. He's teaching me now.
Well, we knew that from the beginning too, but
I
wasn't going to bring that part up.
Love you too.
Yeah.
But stop talking about me,
yeah.
Tim. Bob's here.
Okay, Bob. So what do you think about Nick? What should we do with no.
Off with his head.
Off with his head.
Yeah. I like that idea sometimes. Damn 20-year-olds.
I think if I had a music store, I would really try to figure out how do I get every single person that walks in our door to make music today.
Yeah.
That would be, I want a drum, hey, do you have 30 seconds? Have you ever played the drum before? No. Would you like to try? No. Great. Just try this. Give them the sticks and say, just repeat after me. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, try that. Great. How'd that feel in your body? All I'm doing is selling voice lessons here, and I got a whole orchestra to play for. Just have that invitational nature. And I think particularly there's nothing more personal than voice. There just isn't. I mean, somebody says, shut up, like, ooh. So how do we craft that? Because I fully believe in NAM's mission and believe in music, but I think that we are raising generations of people that can't talk, and even if they, like a instrument, they should be able to talk to somebody about the instrument. We've got to teach them how to nurture that voice of why I chose flute, or why I play xylophone, and what an odd instrument, but being able to talk to people instead of keeping it this insular world, because then I think a lot more people are, to your point, Tim, it's never too late.
That's exactly.
You could do something, get the parents, and when the parents say, I'm here to buy my tuba for my son or rent it for the school or whatever, why aren't we trying to get them to see what it's like? Have you ever played music? Oh, I used to play the piano. Oh, great. Have that conversation. But we are so focused that this is what they came in for. That's the thing I got to talk about. I just think you probably have more opportunities to enjoy your people that walk in the door instead of saying, what can I help you with? Yeah, I'm looking for strings for my 11-year-old's violin. Okay, well, they're over here. We have good, better, best. Which one do you want? Great. Do you want us to put them on for you? No. You're going to take me up? Yes. Anything else? No. I mean, who wants to work at any store like that? But that's what we see.
Right. Yeah. It's not fun. Yeah, I know in Piano Trends music, we do make it fun. When somebody comes in, we actually will bypass the parents many times and talk to the kids because they're much more interesting anyway, most of the time. But to your earlier point in the conversation too, when somebody comes in and we're showing them a piano, for instance, instead of me sitting down and playing the piano, because I could sit down and play and they go, oh, wow, that's cool. Can you play Piano Man again? It's better to have them sit down and play and get their hands on the piano, because that's what they came in for. They didn't come in to hear me play the piano. We want to get them playing the piano. So yeah, it's everybody operates their businesses differently, but there's some key points that you always make that would make it a lot better for a lot of people. Hey, I want to talk about your new book. You showed the book before. Show us the book again and tell us about that.
The Retail Doc's Guide to Growing Your Business. Step-by-step approach to quickly diagnose, treat, and cure by Wiley and Associates.
That's okay. When did that come out?
That's actually not that new, dude. Like, I wish I could say that was a new book, but yeah, that was a little while ago. But Sales RX is what I'm known. Sales RX is my online training, because I wrote that book and that took a lot, and we sold 10,000 copies, which was great. I mean, that's what the contract was, but at the end of the day, it's just a lot of work and not a lot of payoff. You get done with this book, they've given you an advance. You're like, I'm amazing. And they're like, yes, you are. And I'm like, oh, so now we turn over to you to sell it. And like, no, it's all you. You're like,
yeah.
What? And so that's why I did Sales RX, my online training program, because if I'm going to make enough effort, I want to have that return on it. So yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. What's on tap for you this coming year? Do you have any big plans coming up?
Well, this year, one of the big things that we worked on the last 6 months was we have our AI role play that we have put into Sales RX now. So a learner is going to take a 3 to 5 minute lesson with me on, I don't know, it's 50. We have 53 some lessons, but let's just say, how do I start building rapport with somebody? And then before you go to a quiz now, you're going to meet, we call them sidekick Rex. It's not gender involved, but it's, you see a picture, and then you have to start talking to a computer, and it's listening, and you're going back and forth. And then when you're done, there's a little scorecard, and you have to get a certain mark or you don't pass. And it's a game changer, because in the old ways, we would train like that. We'd say, take a couple lessons today, and then next week, work with your manager, do a role play. Well, managers don't want to do any role plays. We call them mock sessions, because mock sessions sounds easier than role play. Let's do a role play. Hell no. Mock session. What's that? Just different mindset. But now we've taken that out. So I still want you to do mock session with your manager, owner, whoever it's going to be. But I know that to have gotten to the quiz, you had to go through Rex. And we have three levels of Rex. There's an easy, there's a medium, and the hardest we call Karen. And Karen's just a bitch. I mean, she's just hard. Like, she's listening for everything. And if you don't, she walks out the door and goes like, I don't like your attitude. But it's also fun because you're talking to AI. So I could be at Piano Trends, and I could say something. I say, wow, I really like those alien antennas that you're wearing. Did you fly in, or did you drive in? And the AI will go right with it. Yeah, I flew in from Mars. It'll play the whole thing. But it doesn't matter what you're saying. If you understand the concept of how do I listen accurately to someone, how do I build a conversation, you can actually have fun with it. So that's been a big one. And it's been eye-opening how much people enjoy it once they get used to it, right? Because you're talking to a computer and people get a little self-conscious, especially when, let's face it, a lot of younger people, if you could hold up your phone and they could text you as you walked in the store, they would love it. But they don't have those skills yet. So when they're first starting, it's important for them to actually be able to use their voice. And then, the owner hears it and like, you're too soft, and letting be able to. But I think that's been my most exciting project this year. And then I've got some other, I have some very big projects in the work, but unfortunately, those are always the longer times. I'm much more of, we had a meeting. Are we ready to sign? It's like, no, there's multiple people that have to talk about this. Like, why? I'm your guy.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. What's the hell your problem?
Well, I don't know why. I think I want to have a conversation with this Karen. That does sound like it would be fun.
Karen's, yeah, she's intense, and we can also make custom ones. So we can go through, and if you're dealing with something particular and there's something that really stands out, we can go through and hone in on that and make sure that we've got a lesson to it. And then, the thing is, you don't want to send somebody into a role play where they're not prepared. Again, going all the way back to the beginning of our time together was knowing what success looks like. If they haven't taught what success looks like, unless you've said, wear a flowered shirt like this, pick up the pen with your right hand and do that, unless you have a very clear understanding of what they're supposed to do, it's really hard to hold people accountable, because you say, we value every guest, make the customer your friend, all of these things that really are boring. Nobody knows what success looks like.
That's true. That's very true. Well, if somebody wants to get to sign up to work with you on the AI, how do they reach out and contact you, Bob?
You can actually ask Spider-Man might be able to come and do something. Just call him; he'll help you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just go to retaildoc.com, retaildoc.com. And plenty of, my blog's got 1,000 articles you can take a look at. You can take a demo of Sales RX. You can find out about my speaking, my keynotes. You can talk to Zach at NAM and say, we need Bob in there in January. We had a conversation. I'm hoping I can come back to NAM. I
will.
All right. And I think the other thing I want you to take away today is just understand how whatever you're doing, if you're doing cooking store, let's say, that's a different way to a different voice, and understand that it's still using your hands to use your voice, much like we're using, we're strumming something or picking something or blowing through it or whatever. We have to understand that that's a sacred place to be in the voice, and make every possibility you can. That's not about price. It's about how do we help them have a different color to their voice. So there you go.
I think we can make life better by just listening to Bob. So life is good. Thank you, Bob, for being with us. I appreciate
Thanks, gents.
Come on with us. We should do this again sometime.
I'm always around, my friend.
Real quick, folks. Hey, listen, don't be afraid to go to Amazon. The Retail Doctor is growing your business, guide to growing your business. Go there, check it out. They have a audio CD, paperback, Kindle. Check out the doc. I would love to read that book. I think I'm going to get it. I would love to buy an autographed copy from you. Actually,
that's only on my site, my friend.
Oh, well, that's where I'm going then to get it. So we go back to the site. Let's drop his site back in there on the banner, please. And this way, and look, there you go. TheRetailDoc.com. Bob, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thanks
gents.
for joining us on our show, man. I'd love to have you back into the future as well and see what's going on next.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thanks, Jen. Believe in music. We can change the world by people working and strumming music. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Take care.
Smile,
Bye, Bob.
be kind, and keep on keeping on.
Hey, it's John Benedict, Wrigley Field organist. You're watching Around the Piano with Tim Paul at 216 Creator Studios.
Hey.